I'm just going to say this. We've been seeing this. We've heard a couple tricklings in 2016, 17.
Yeah.
And it's been slowly picking up speed where we're literally having our own currency and banks and financial institutions weaponized against us to try to get us to comply to their fucking nuttiness.
Yeah.
I should say, socialism, communism kind of thing they have going on. And listen, I do not want this country to be like China. That place is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. And every time you hear any Western leaders say that China is the model, like, Justin Castro up in Kazakhstan, be afraid. Be very afraid.
Yep.
Well, I'm not even the communism and socialism is one thing. I'm more worried about the social aspects. Like, we are so effed right now. We think fat women are beautiful.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
I don't care what Justin Dalvany or Mulvaney, whatever the Bud Light guy does to his unit. I really don't. I mean, that's fine, but I don't. I'm not going to go to jail because I called him or her or whatever. That thing decides they don't want to be called that particular week of the year.
Bad.
How dare you dead name me?
And listen, what comes next? They're going to pass laws that you have to, set a table for your child's imaginary fucking friend.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. If the further and further you get away from reality, the more and more Orwellian it's going to become.
This is stupid.
The thing, you're joking.
But
you're not far off the mark, and
I
it
know.
wouldn't shock me if we start to see that shit. Because the left is going out of their way to sexualize kids. The World Health Organization is now behind it, saying that sexuality should be taught to children as young as infancy.
Yep.
Give me a fucking break. Yeah, the imaginary friends having their own spot at the table is going to be the next thing to come about, and some kid's going to want to be emancipated at the age of 8 because mommy refused to recognize Harvey the Rabbit.
Right.
What the fuck?
No, and then I'll point out the obvious though, but half the population is pretty much indoctrinated and weaponized to really not like, depends on the individual, but really not like the other half. And so, I mean, that has, look at all the people's lives you saved. I almost guarantee you 95% of them is because a woman got involved and either broke some vows or played some mind games or something like that.
Yep.
I just don't, that's one thing if you want to tax me at Swedish levels. It's another thing when I got to say there are 4 lights when there's 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not playing that game.
And that I think is going to have a much worse effect on standards of living, where you got to play this mentally ill game to, I don't know keep up the delusion of some people or keep
I'm not
up
doing
their
it.
fantasies.
I am not doing it. I'm sorry. Listen, if somebody thinks he's a werewolf, unless he can change into a fucking werewolf and I can see it, he's living a delusion because he's not a werewolf.
Yep.
Okay, come on.
Ugh.
It's the same thing. You're a dude. You think you're a woman. It's a delusion. I'm sorry that's happening to you, and I want you to get actual help.
Actual help.
Okay?
Not hormones.
Yeah,
help.
listen. Yeah, telling the schizophrenic, hey, put your head in the microwave. Everything will get better.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you totally have alien blood.
Yeah.
I can see it flowing through your veins.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, but if you don't toe the line, this is what happens.
Yep.
You get banned. This goes back to 2019 here. Conservatives getting denied service from Chase Bank because, we're all hateful bigots.
I used to work for Chase, and they were assholes.
Yep. And then what do we got here? Credit cards clamping down on payments to hate groups. This is 2017.
Who gets to determine what a hate group is?
Probably the ADL and the SPLC. The Anti-Defamation League, which should really be called the Pro-Defamation League because they've been successfully sued for defamation so many times. And, of course, SPLC, same thing. So, and that's why shit like this just can't work.
Mm-hmm. It can't.
Eventually, it will just implode, and then you have a two-way economy turning into a two-way rifle.
Well, this is what's going to happen. There was a guy about 20 years back started the silver certificates.
Yeah.
Where it's paper money backed by silver. And they crushed that dude because you're not allowed to make currency that, competes with the country's currency.
Hmm.
But if they're going to screw with this badly, you're going to have states coming up with their own currency.
Oh, they're going to have to.
It'll be backed by actual physical assets. And but the thing is what I'm trying to the message I'm trying to convey here is right now we are splitting off into a parallel economy. We have the standard economy, which has been corrupted and weaponized. All right. What people are failing to see is this is literally the last big step before the two-way rifle range kicks off. Because if you have your own money and they have their money, and then sooner or later they're going to want to stop us from using our money, it's going to get ugly.
Well, I mean, isn't the separation of federal and states' rights what kicked off the last two-way rifle range in this country?
Pretty much.
Right.
Because we had an authoritarian president who wanted to federalize a bunch of shit, Lincoln. Yeah, the movie about him was a bunch of fluffball nonsense.
Yeah, he was a dick. I got you.
And because he wanted to enforce his will on states that weren't having it, boom, there you go.
Yep.
And this is no different.
This is going to get
Well,
ugly.
I think the division's going to become a little bit more clear, but to very simplify it a lot, the leftists are 100% completely dependent on rightists. Whether that's you're a hard libertarian, a hard leftist,
right.
like socialist, communist, or a Democrat who just, I just want to help out the little people. I'm a teacher. the people on the general right, everything from a milquetoast Republican to a radical anarchist libertarian, they're the ones who do the work. And people on the left generally tend to be your government workers, your nonprofits. You literally live off of either the taxation or the charity of essentially the private sector. I think that's where more of the division is going to come from. So, okay, you're going to.
So the word you're looking for is parasites.
Yeah, parasites. Yeah, no, I mean, literally in the literal sense. I mean, I'd argue, people who build roads produce something of value. Regardless, they're not going to be able to live without our production. California's a perfect example. California is the day's going to come. There's going to be enough Silicon Valley billionaires moving their companies out of there saying, okay, enough crap in the streets. We're gone.
Yep.
And they're going to have to rely on pretty much all the other 49 states, disproportionately conservative, Republican, libertarian types to do all the work in the production.
Especially if they want to push their reparations.
Yeah. What the fuck are they thinking of?
Right. If you want to do that. And then also it's going to, and what's going to happen first before you get the two-way rifle range, what's going to happen first is people are like, how much in taxes? No, I ain't working. And you're already seeing that with younger people, especially younger men. We're like, yeah, I'm not working.
I don't blame the young men for.
I can't either.
Yeah, I can. What benefit is there to put your head willingly into the yoke of slavery?
Right.
What benefit is there for men today? There is none. They hate men, especially if you're a white dude. They hate you even more.
Yep.
They don't have anything good to say about you, and they want us gone from every aspect of the civilization.
Mm-hmm.
It's a recipe for failure.
Is it any shock that the overwhelming majority of dudes that we're hearing about going the transformer route are white dudes?
Mm-hmm.
It's because we've been demonized and told from birth, your identity's toxic. You're responsible for all the ills of the world. You inherited the sins of your fathers. Not us. We're the wrong color for that, but you. Yeah. You did.
Yeah.
So here's a selection of new identities that you can choose from. If you choose not to get on board with any one of these, well, then I guess you're just going to be the oppressor forever.
Yep.
Well, that's fine. But in the end, when it boils down to it, ain't no one going in and being linemen. There's no one going into the coal mines or the steel mines. Isn't nobody. You're going to deter the producing class so much they won't produce enough, and then you're going to. We already kind of had shortages a little bit during the disease.
That's what brought down the Soviet Union. You're explaining exactly what happened in the Soviet Union.
Well, it happens in any. But look, if you don't let people keep the majority of the fruits of their labor, they're not going to work because they're slaves. So there you go.
You're right.
But you already kind of see it right now. Although I'd say it's more because we've conditioned men to just be college-attending pussies, frankly, instead of tradesmen. They're not finding enough mechanics. They're not finding enough. We got a housing shortage. Why? Because you raised a bunch of journalism majors with their effeminate beards who can strum an acoustic guitar, but they don't even know the difference between a regular handsaw and a circular saw.
Or a screw and a nail.
Yeah, and so everything that is absolutely important, like housing, electricity, computers, things that we actually need to survive, you're starting to see at least delays. I remember
Oh,
I had to get my transmission fixed. It was a 5-week delay or 5-week wait to
Wow.
get the schedule to
Damn.
have a I can't replace a transmission. I don't have the expertise. But that's going to happen more and more, and you're going to see it. And then I believe people on the left, especially women, though, are going to be they've been so inoculated from having essentially to work in the real world. They're going to be like, well, why? Like mechanics don't even exist to them. They're just they're just inferior people. Like, well, why can't I get my car fixed? Why isn't that? And they're going to get, and the day's going to come. It's like, hey, sweetheart, it don't matter how much you pout or how much money you got. The last mechanic in 200-mile radius closed his shop. You got to drive 300 miles, but you can't because your car don't work. It's going to be that moment in time that they're going to like, well, what? And as it always goes with communism, well, how do we get more people to be mechanics? Well, now you have to enslave them and order them to be that.
Yes.
And so that I think there's going to be a couple stages before we get to that might be the shooting. When someone says, hey, Aaron, you got to do this thing. I'm like, no, I don't. I have my own food, clothing, shelter, and my house is paid off. I don't have to do anything. No. You got to go and help work out for, it'll be called the Community Volunteer Act, where I have to volunteer my time in the fields. I'm like, no, I'm going to volunteer this gun up your ass. And that's when the fighting will happen.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better.
9mm suppository.
223, a little bit less personal, and I don't want to get that close. Like if it's that close, it's bad. It's bad. No,
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.